That
I'm not convinced. He should table facts.
Senator Wakoli, I think the ruling of 2017 is in the public realm. So you can verify and come and confirm whether it is
Speaker, did it say they were stolen?
It said clearly that the election was stolen, and that's why it was nullified. And there was another election. That's exactly what happened. So, under Senator Wakoli, I'm sure.
If this is the position of the united opposition, then we leave them to
Senator
God.
Senator Wakoli, this was intended to be a substantiation. So what you need to do is verify the facts of the case and indicate whether he's right or not.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me go on to conclude. I really want to say that now I can hear this is generating a lot of politics. The position of alternative government is that we will talk and convince as many Kenyans as possible, as they are doing now in Kisii, to support us, so that when the election comes, will be voted overwhelmingly, so that anybody try to steal that election will not be able to do it at all. A lot will be left more and will win the election. I thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to support.
Senator Sen.Cheruiyot.
My apologies, Madam Speaker. Senator Odi, let me use this place. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report actually by our colleagues, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. For the record, I have to declare interest that I participated in the NADCO process that gave birth to this report, Madam Speaker. And therefore, as I speak, I'm acutely aware that this is a reflection of the House rejecting part of the work that we did and the justification. I think I have quickly skimmed through what are some of the concerns that people could be having with that particular phrase. And I think the bigger challenge here comes with the fluency with which this report was drafted, particularly on the phrase undue delay, Mr. Speaker. The stakeholder, if you read paragraph 15 of the overview of the stakeholders' submissions on the particular bill, which is where this report premises its arguments on, is that the stakeholders submitted that the proposed wording of unreasonable delay, quote unquote, as in clause 2A of the bill, waters down the intent of punishing delays in declaring results because it has not been clearly defined, thus rendering it prone to misinterpretation. The stakeholders further urged the committee to align with the proposed amendment in section 39(1) of the Election Act and provides that the process and timelines for tallying announcements and declaration of election results. It's clear that as a committee, that's a NADCO committee, because we drafted these bills, Mr. Speaker, jointly, and it was co-chaired by the party leader of Senator Maanzo and the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, that we didn't capture the spirit of perhaps the country fairly well, because that paragraph tells you the fear that many stakeholders had when they appeared before us. Remember, the NADCO committee was formed as a follow-up to the 2022 elections and the protests that emanated thereon, which has been a cycle that this country has found itself in from as far back as you can recall. I think 2007, there were similar issues, 2013, 2017, 2022, Mr. Speaker, God knows about 2027 as well. And this is part of what we were aiming to address. But it's quite clear, if you read through the observations of the various, stakeholders that appeared before Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, it is quite clear that perhaps we didn't make it as exclusive or elaborate as many citizens would have wished, because a concern by those who appeared before us was that there were many instances where declaration of results was taking longer than usual. I think if you recall last elections, there were counties where, particularly, let's say in the seat of governor, it took longer than usual. And you know there were challenges. There's a part maybe where you find an opponent has realized they've lost the election, and therefore what they do is to mobilize supporters to go before the county tallying center, Madam Speaker, and ensure that declaration is not made, because we have put so much premium on the actual declaration by either the returning officer for the presidential or for county or even lower level elections, Mr. Speaker, which is a Kenyan phenomena that I'm yet to understand, because in many parts of the world, Mr. Speaker, particularly older democracies, you don't have this kind of archaic practices. Actually, a declaration is made independently by the various state agencies, and that holds to be the election result at that particular time. We don't have this obsession of can the returning officer declare, you know, either for constituency or for county or even the presidential. If you read, for example, the submission by IGLEA, who are one of the agencies that appeared before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, Madam Speaker, and I know for a fact that they have been involved in this litigation space around electoral matters for a while, Mr. Speaker. They posit that the proposed amendment should be consistent with the principle requiring a criminal offense to be explicitly defined to specify punishment that it seeks to advance an offense to avoid ambiguity. You know, it urged the committee to either adopt the definition of term unreasonable delay with the meaning and the context of the proposed bill, provided specific timelines out of which the delay will be considered unreasonable. This is precisely what I'm addressing, that in our attempt to take into consideration the views by the various Kenyans who appeared before us at Bomas, Madam Speaker, asking us that we provide clarity on this issue of undue delay in a declaration of results, we didn't do a fairly good job, Madam Speaker, and therefore they were asking that, number one, you must tie, because we intended in that proposed legislation to make it a punishable offense by law when you unreasonably delay declaration of election results as an elections officer. But that hasn't been properly specified. Second, and most important thing that they raise is that unreasonable delay is not fluent enough to explain that particular situation, because what I may consider to be unreasonable is not necessarily what you, Madam Chair, will consider it to be unreasonable. Many people will think that the returning officer is perhaps playing some funny games, but it may turn out that they are just counter-checking and they want to be certain and sure of how certain things are being processed. Therefore, on that account, Madam Speaker, despite the fact that I was part and parcel of those who drafted this particular bill, I agree with the wisdom of the committee and agree that we should not accede to the request of the National Assembly that the bill be passed as it is. I know there was a quote-unquote a gentleman's agreement, and Senator Maanzo, you need to check with your party leader. I'm surprised you're here pushing for the position of the committee that we do an amendment to the bill. There was a quote-unquote a gentleman's agreement at NADCO that all these bills, when they come to the House, given that they were a negotiated document, that one, they should not be amended, or if they are amended, then it should be in a bipartisan approach. I don't know whether any of those two conditions has been met for you to support. But I know you're doing your work as a legislator, which is something that is not the ambit of being covered or being waived by a gentleman's agreement, particularly other people. But I thought, given that your party chair drafted this, party leader actually rather, drafted this legislation, you'd be a bit more lenient to us. But I hear what we are being told by the committee, and I think I agree with them, Madam Speaker, that this is something we need to think about. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we must ask ourselves, how far can we go as a country to accommodate the fears of people who fear to lose elections, Madam Speaker? The IBC appeared before the Budget Committee of the National Assembly last week, I think. And I saw they were requesting for, I think, 60 billion between now and the next election. Can you imagine what 60 billion can do, Madam Speaker? And all that is processes that we have had to do and counter-do just to keep some people satisfied and to make sure that every political player feels that their wishes have been accommodated. Mr. Speaker, I have been fortunate to be part and parcel of the winning team in all the 3 terms that I've been in this House, Madam Speaker. And I know that electoral contests are not easy to win. But people must also concede that in any contest, there must be a winner and a loser. we seem to be perpetuating a culture in this country, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, where people don't want to accept results. And many times they begin to speak about it even ahead of time to prepare their supporters, so that in the alternate, when they lose, they have a justification. We know these games, but we must be adults at some point and tell each other the truth, that I know I have campaigned and I have done sufficient work on the campaign trail for the citizens of the country to give me the permission to lead them, Madam Speaker. This business of drumming up, beating drums of war every now and then, oh, you'll not steal our vote. Which vote? If you believe you have sufficient vote, Madam Speaker, you go out and seek. You know, I saw a gentleman last week on Sunday bragging before the country that, oh, you know, I took care of examination and nobody stole exams. Yet he's a gentleman who one is indicted by a committee of this house, that the only record they left at the Ministry of Education is that they stole public land belonging to a primary school in Ruaraka, Madam Speaker. And they want to lecture us about electoral integrity, that they will guard the votes. There is nothing, no business we in the political class have with regards to guarding of election, Madam Speaker. We need to surrender ourselves to the authority of the IEBC and trust them that they are an independent constitutional commission, that the minute they have set out their responsibility and they have done it in a fair and transparent manner, Madam Speaker, we accept the results. In fact, Madam Speaker, I dare say that given the conduct of politicians in this country, Madam Speaker, part of the electoral code of conduct that IEBC gives us to commit ourselves to before subjecting ourselves to any election, Madam Speaker, must include acceptance of results, Madam Speaker. If we want to be a country that is progressive, otherwise we will end up being in a country that is pumping billions upon billions of shillings every other election cycle just to satisfy the ego of people who cannot win elections, Madam Speaker. And that cannot be allowed to perpetuate long enough. If you believe that you have sold a vision to the people of Kenya, then concentrate on ensuring that your voters turn out. They will speak through the ballot. Given our electoral system, I am deeply convinced that one of the hardest countries, Madam Speaker, to commit electoral fraud, particularly at the scale which many of the political players continue to talk about, particularly at the national level, is nearly impossible, Madam Speaker, because of the things that IBC puts in place. And I am not their spokesperson, Madam Speaker, but I just speak as a concerned Kenyan that our elections are increasingly becoming super expensive just to take care of concerns and fears of a few people, Madam Speaker, who don't have the courage of conviction to accept electoral results once they are done. Therefore, Madam Speaker, that's not the main reason why I rose to speak. I rose to agree with the committee that we didn't do a good job at the NADCO committee in terms of drafting that particular part of the bill to satisfy and meet the need or address the concern of fellow citizens. And therefore, on that account, I agree with Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that that part needs to be amended. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also rise to support the Jailer Committee on rejection of the amendments by National Assembly, Honorable Speaker. From the report, Honorable Speaker, the committee undertook very extensive public participation on this particular amendment, Madam Speaker, and what they have come up with is to ensure the people of Kenya know really what they want. In fact, I'm surprised by what my colleague on the other side has said, Madam Speaker, because I thought he was also a member of CHAILAC, but I don't know if he is. Madam Speaker, if you remember 2007, Madam Speaker, the elections for 2007, the then chairman of IBC, or that time the late Samuel Kivitu, Madam Speaker, said he didn't know who won. So that's why it took long for him to announce the results. And basically we almost lost the country because of what the then chair of IBC said, Madam Speaker. That is why when I look at this, I don't know if National Assembly undertook public participation, because the one by JLAC of this House, Madam Speaker, was very extensive. That is why they came up with this report, Madam Speaker. You can imagine, Madam Speaker, when you say the results to be announced and reasonably no delay or reasonable time, this is very subjective, Madam Speaker. And the law already is providing that at the close of the polling station, the results for 5 candidates, governor, senator, member of National Assembly, women rep, and MCs are announced after the counting of the votes, Madam Speaker. And the law is very clear. The one for the president should be declared not later than 7 days. But when you say unreasonable delay or reasonable time, what is this? This is very subjective. A month can be reasonable time. 2 months can be unreasonable time. So basically it means we will be putting the country in a very precarious situation, Madam Speaker. This, I agree that we reject this amendment by National Assembly and go by what our committee, JLAC, proposed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know, I'm surprised when people say elections are stolen. You know, as Senator Majority Leader said, maybe we need to also amend the law to ensure when we are subscribing to the conduct of elections, Madam Speaker, we say we'll accept the results. This is a game. Elections is like a game. It's like what happened yesterday. Manu played with another team and they won. It doesn't matter by how many calls or by how many votes. For the presidential, it's 50+1. You cannot say you have stolen when yourself, as a candidate, you have not campaigned enough, you are assuming, you don't even have agents in polling station. So who do you expect to help you to win if you cannot even help yourself? That's why we are surprised that somebody said he took care of exams. Actually, to tell you the truth, Madam Speaker, I was a member of ICT committee, and that particular former CS, we summoned him. He was very rude when he was the CS for ICT, and we could not entertain him in our committee. So